In this video, we are looking at the best free agents at each position in Football Manager 2024. And I have put all of these free agents on Luton Town in the English Premier Division, and we will simulate forward one season to see which of our free agents does the best so that you all know who is best to sign. So let's start off with our goalkeepers. We have two goalkeepers, Sergio Asenjo and David De Gea. Senjo is a 34-year-old Spanish goalkeeper who has a lot to like about him. Specifically, I really like that fairly professional personality. So you can be comfortable signing him and knowing he's going to be a good presence in your locker room and potentially be a good player to mentor any young goalkeepers that you may be looking at developing in your squad. But he's also a player who you can look at starting right away. He's a very well-rounded goalkeeper with good communication, handling, and reflexes. So overall, very well-rounded, not spectacular at anything, but a solid, well-rounded goalkeeper who I think you could stick in for 1 or 2 seasons and comfortably rely on. But our number one goalkeeping free agent is David De Gea. He's very clearly the best goalkeeping free agent. And the thing that you can be comfortable knowing about David De Gea is his natural fitness is 17. So at 32 years old, he is going to last you a long time. His physical attributes are not going to get much worse. He also has a good, resolute personality, so you can be comfortable with his place in the locker room and with his performance. Those reflexes aren't going down anytime soon because, again, he has good natural fitness. You can sign him up early, and he will be your goalkeeper for years to come. So those are our two goalkeepers. Let's now move into our back line, starting off with Jack O'Connell, who is retiring in the game, but you can potentially convince him to come out of retirement if you really like him. And overall, this is a solid player. He was playing for Sheffield United in the Sky Bet Championship, and he is a solid Sky Bet Championship 2 English Premier Division player. Very well-rounded, good physicals, very well-rounded mentals. He can play as a wide center back, ball-playing center back, or a central defender. Again, very well-rounded, nothing that really stands out as bad or particularly great about him, but you can trust him. And at just 29 years old, if you can convince him to come out of retirement, he'll be in your squad for a while. Next up, we have Jerome Boateng, the German World Cup winning center back, who is a really solid ball-playing defender. He still has the physicals to be able to make it at a high level, good pace, but more importantly, good strength and good jumping reach. And with that solid 16 passing, he'll be a really good ball playing center back for just about anyone he can go to. If you can afford his wages, he's a good player to have come in for 1 to 2 seasons, and he'll do a job for you. Next up is Shkodran Mustafi, who used to play for Arsenal. This really interesting player because I think his attributes are quite good in the game. He would be a lot slower, but honestly, decent physicals, arguably better than Boateng, and overall good technical and mental attributes. He's a solid player. He's definitely one to bring in for a year, maybe even 2 years. His natural fitness is low. This is the big thing to worry about him. So he will decline quickly. But if you're bringing him in on a 1, 2 year contract, I think he can do a job for you. Mustafi is not a bad option if you need a center back. Moving into our fullbacks, my absolute favorite player of this entire free agent list is Almami Toure. At just 27 years old, he is one that you can have for a while. Most recently, he was playing at Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga, so he's played at a high level, and he is a good player. He can play center back, right back, but he has very good versatility playing up into the midfield as well. A fairly professional personality, so you know he's going to be a good egg in your locker room. Really good physicals, that pace is really notable, and he's just overall so well rounded. I think I would actually play him as a wide center back or maybe even a wing back because he's got good crossing, good dribbling, excellent tackling. I don't know if he quite has the jumping reach to play center back, but with that good pace and again, that dribbling and crossing, I think he's a really good player. This is someone who can definitely play at an English Premier Division level. Definitely a player to look at if you're looking for someone who can play all across the back line. After that, we have another intriguing option now at left back, Ryan Bertrand, who obviously was at Southampton, Leicester, and won a Champions League at Chelsea. He is a really good, well-rounded player. I think he's got a good personality, a nice spirited personality on him. He still has good physicals, good mentals, good technicals. Again, someone to come in and do a job for you in 1 to 2 years. Ryan Bertrand is an excellent option. After that, we have another well-rounded option, Marvin Ziegler, most recently at Udinese and Italian Serie A. Again, very well-rounded. Nothing really stands out about him. He does have a few things though that worry me. I'm worried about that nine marking. That's kind of the big worry because I don't think he has the outstanding physicals or positioning to be able to make up for that nine marking. But as maybe a wing back, or if you can play him in this position here, maybe in a three center back system, I think he would do really well. Because again, he's very well rounded. Nothing really stands about him. The only issue may be that marking, but at just 32 years old and with decent natural fitness, he can do a job for another 2 years or so. Next up, we have Andre Almeida, who can play right back, but I actually think he's better in a defensive midfield position. He has really good mental attributes and solid technicals to where he can play in the center of the pitch, given that he has pretty good passing, good tackling, good marking. He could be a nice halfback, deep lying playmaker, or a ball winning midfielder. The reason that I would play him at defensive mid is because his pace isn't very good and his natural fitness is low, so he's not getting any faster and that pace will decrease. But given the good mentals and good technicals, I think he can slot in nicely in a defensive midfield role and do a job very well there. Another player that I really like here is Alex Vidal. I believe he came through the Barcelona Academy or at one point played for Barcelona. But this is a player who can play all up and down the right-hand side and just another very well-rounded player. He's got decent physicals, so he'll be around for a while. He's got good natural fitness, so he can play well into his late 30s. Solid mentals and solid technicals. Overall, just a very solid player who can do a job for you. Now we're going to move into our midfield, and this is a player that I really like as far as a free signing is concerned. 44 caps for Nigeria, just 27 years old, Peter Etebo. He played most recently in the Greek Super League, but has been a bit of a journeyman, and I think you can have a home for this journeyman. Decent personality, fairly sporting is all right, but he's got really good physicals, 15 natural fitness. He's going to be around for a while. This is a solid ball winning midfielder. Stick him defensive mid, put him as your ball winning midfielder. He's got decent strike, stamina, and pace. He's got good enough mentals to do well. And overall, with decent marking and decent tackling, he's a great ball winning midfielder. I think he can do a job in the English Premier Division. Continuing with our midfielders, we have Adrian Silva, a player who had an interesting career at Leicester City right after their title winning squad. And overall, very good technicals and mentals. I really like him as kind of a deep lying playmaker type of player with his good passing, decent vision. He's got good teamwork, good determination, good concentration. So there are some things that really do stand out about him. But overall, he's very well rounded technically. He's got very good mental attributes, but those physical attributes are a bit lacking, which is why I would play him as maybe a deep lying playmaker or maybe even a halfback type player. But he's got good natural fitness, so it's not like those physicals are going to go down tremendously. And I think the best part about him is he has his professional personality. Bring him in, he's going to be awesome for your locker room. He's going to be great as far as being able to mentor young players is concerned. This is a great free signing pickup. I think one of the best in the game. Moving forward, an interesting option to pick in the central midfielder is Xhaka here. And he was most recently playing in Rennes in France, and he's been kind of all over France recently. Again, nothing particularly outstanding about him, but a solid deep lying playmaker with, again, a good personality. At just 28 years old, you can get him for 3, 4, 5 years. And he's got the attributes to be a good deep lying playmaker. Good first touch, good passing, decent technique, decent off the ball, positioning, teamwork, vision, etc. I think this is a player who can just be solid for you. You can do a job, be solid, plug a hole. You can get him for 2 or 3 years, and he'll do pretty well for you. Next up, Jose Campana, one of the most intriguing free agents because he's outstanding technically. Great first touch, great passing, great technique. This is an advanced playmaker on support if I've ever seen one. Good vision, decent flair, and he makes good decisions. Stick him as an advanced playmaker, stick him as an enganche. This is a very interesting player. I just don't always know how much impact he's going to have on the game. You really need to play through him because he can't really do it on his own. You need to play through him. So if you're going to get him, design a tactic to where he can be a playmaker and he's got runners around him. He needs more athletic people running around him because, again, his physicals aren't great. Natural fitness is only 12, so he will decline physically, but he's just got outstanding technical and mental attributes. He's also fairly professional, so he'll be good for your locker room, but he needs players around him. The other big issue with Jose Campana, and another reason that just makes me a little bit worried, damaged cruciate ligaments. He's out for 6 to 7 months. Don't get him right away. Look to see how his physicals do, 6 months into the future. And if you still like the look of his physicals, he's a good player to sign, especially if you have quick, fast players running all around him. Continuing our theme of kind of well-rounded, technically adept central midfielders, we have Roberto Soriano. Again, decent passing, good technique, good first touch. He is an advanced playmaker who just struggles a little bit physically, but he's got a good personality, very similar to our previous player. If you got good players running around him, if you have other more physical players in your center of midfield, then he can do a job for you. All right, let's move into the winger and forward positions. We're starting off with Theo Walcott, another one that if you can convince him not to retire, if you have an interesting project for Theo Walcott, then you might be able to keep him from retiring. I'm not going to talk too much about Theo Walcott, though, because he is difficult to get out of retirement. But overall, still a solid player, good work rate, good professional, fairly professional personality. So he'll be solid for your locker room at the very least if he's a player you're interested in bringing in. After that, I think a player we had last year, Diego Perotti. And again, with that theme of a good technical and mental attributes, but just not quite having the physicals. He's really bad on the physicals. If you sign Perotti, nothing longer than a 1 year contract. But he's got kind of an interesting, let's bring him off of the bench when we need a goal type vibe. Great dribbling and crossing, good first touch, great penalty taking. You can bring him on, late in extra time. He's got good passing. I don't think I'd play him on the wings. I would play him as an AMC, play him as an Aganch, or maybe a shadow striker even, because he's got a bit about him. There's something about Perotti that I just really like. If you can find a way to overcome those poor physicals, this is an intriguing player. Next up, what an interesting career Jesse Lingard has had. He is available on a free. He can play all across the front line and in the midfield. He's got a decent Holy Trinity. I think his most important attribute is he has good off the ball, which kind of is able to help with that 12 pace. But he's got 17 natural fitness and a fairly professional personality. He's not going to decline fairly quickly. At 30 years old, you can trust him to be in your team for the next few years. You just got to find the right place for him. I think that's out wide. And again, he's got a good Holy Trinity. He can get you some goals. I think, though, the best option as far as wingers are concerned, Kareem Bellarabi, the German international, most recently playing at the Bundesliga. I think he's just the best because he's actually got some physical attributes about him. At 33 years old, he's got 15 pace, 15 dribbling. He can play in those forward positions. You can trust him as a winger. I think if you play him on a winger as attacker support, he's got good work rate, good dribbling, good pace. This is a player I really like, actually. He can do a job for you. Solid signing. Next up in our forward positions, we have Iago Falcai. He can play all along the front line and up top as well. And again, just a solid player. I don't think there's anything spectacular about him. I like him best in the kind of attacking midfield role because, again, good passing, good technique, decent vision, good off the ball. So if I was looking to play him anywhere, I'd be playing him here. He's got a fairly professional personality. So again, he can do a job for you, but I don't know. There's nothing that really excites me about him, but he can do a job. And now we really are starting to move into another player who can play out wide, but mostly those forward positions. I actually really like Andre Ayew, a Ghanaian, arguably a Ghanaian legend. He's got a perfectionist personality, great natural fitness, so he's not going to get a whole lot worse. And he's just an interesting player because I really like his holy trinity: good dribbling, decent finishing, and good first touch. I think this is a player who can still get goals at a high level. Definitely, if you're in the Sky Bet Championship, he'll get goals there, but I think he can still get goals in a high level. He's just such an interesting player. I like him a lot. Our next forward option is Allen, the 33-year-old Chinese central forward, who is, again, kind of just a solid player. Good holy trinity, good dribbling, finishing, first touch, decent off the ball, decent pace. I'm going to be honest, the striking options here aren't very good. This is a Sky Bet Championship level player. I just don't think the free agent striking options are great. He's not amazing, but I mean, he's solid and I think he can do a job. Maybe not at the highest level, but right below that. And finally, our last option, the best striking option is Felipe Caicedo, who I just don't think there's anything great about him. He has things to like. He's got a professional personality. He's got good finishing and decent mentals. However, there's just nothing spectacular about him. I don't think he has a great ability to create his own chances because he doesn't have great physicals. He needs, like, if he just was a little bit quicker, maybe he had some better jumping reach, but he's just a bit average across the board. Um, because of that, I don't think he's a great English Premier Division player. Maybe for a lower Premier Division side, definitely in the Sky Bet Championship, he'd be pretty good. He's very well rounded, but just there's nothing that really stands out about him. And I think you can see that in his career totals recently. I mean, in real life, he just hasn't scored that many goals. I don't know how many goals he'll get for you. He's just not outstanding, but there are bits about him that I think are good that could do well for a team. I think he's best in a two striker system, not as your main goal scorer. But he's got things like, again, he's got good work rate. I think he plays well for the team, good teamwork. So I think if you played him as a deep lying forward with an advanced forward who's getting you most of your goals, this is where Felipe Caicedo could really shine. However, as kind of the lone striker or as your main goal threat, that's where I think he'll struggle. But anyways, that is Free Agent FC, the best free agents available in Football Manager 2024 at every position. If we go to our tactics, we do our quick pick and look at our best 11. This is what that team looks like. So we got De Gea in goal, Bertrand, O'Connell, Mustafi, and Torre in the back line, Atebo, Soriano, and Zeka in the middle, Lingard, Ayew, and Caicedo up top. So this is what the team looks like. We're going to simulate 1 year into the future. We're going to look and see at how all these players do. And then I'm going to pick out the two or three that do the best, who I would recommend signing the most. So I'm going to simulate 1 year into the future, and let's see which players ended up doing the best. Welcome back. 1 year into the future, and we had everyone on Luton, and they got relegated with 17 points from 38 matches. Yeah, the team wasn't very good, but let's find out which players stood out the most. A player that did really well despite allowing so many goals, David De Gea. Actually did very well, a 6.91 rating in a team that was this bad for a goalkeeper. This shows, yeah, David De Gea can still do a job for you. And 1 year into the future, he's gotten better in a lot of attributes. He is a solid free agent signing. Another player who I think did a job in kind of tough circumstances was Almami Torre. Overall, he actually got better over the course of the year. At 28 years old, he is still a solid right back, one who you can definitely pick up, and he will do a job for you. Again, compared to the rest of the players, Peter Atebo was one player who actually did pretty solid. At 28, again, he looked solid compared to where he was earlier this year. Some of his physical attributes even going up. Again, solid player. I think you can count on him to do a job. He did solid in this save. An unexpected player who did pretty well was Zeka here. 6.74 overall rating. He got better over the course of the year. I'm pleasant. I think I might have underrated him. He was pretty good. You know what? I from the beginning, I think I underrated him. He had a pretty good season. Well done to Zeka. We were right about Felipe Caicedo, by the way. He was the lone striker up top, only 5 goals, 6.45 overall rating. He did not have a good season. And the last player who I'd say did really well, Roberto Soriano, 6.7 overall rating. He was pretty solid. He played as kind of an advanced playmaker type player. Actually, let's see what we had him on. He was a central midfielder on support. You know what? He did all right. So those were the players that did pretty well for Luton in the English Premier Division. So certainly some good signings here. Overall, not too bad. Well, on that note, those are our best free agent players who you can sign for free in Football Manager 2024, and a few who did pretty well over the course of one season in the English Premier Division. So let me know if you signed some of these players in your save and how they've done for you. But that is what I've got for the video today. I hope you all have enjoyed and found this helpful, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.